Hi, Taurus. Welcome in. I'm really glad you're here with me today. Before we get into your reading, just give yourself a second to settle in, take a slow breath, and let whatever has been weighing on you soften for a moment. Take what resonates and leave the rest. Okay, Taurus, there's already something very emotional about this energy, because the first card coming through is the Six of Cups, and I keep feeling like somebody is going back in their mind. They're remembering you. They're remembering conversations, little moments, things you probably wouldn't even expect them to still think about. And, it doesn't feel like they're doing this once in a while. It feels repetitive, almost like their mind keeps finding its way back to you when things get quiet. With the Six of Cups sitting here, I feel like there's history between you and this person. For some of you, this may be somebody you were romantically involved with. For others, perhaps things never fully became what you hoped they would become. There may have been feelings, chemistry, possibilities, but something was left unfinished. And what I keep sensing is that this person has been imagining different versions of what could have happened. What if they had said something sooner? What if they had shown you more? What if they hadn't held back? Oh my God, Taurus, because the Four of Wands comes out right beside this, and that makes this feel even more personal. This person may have pictured what it would actually be like to have you in their everyday life. Not just missing you from a distance, but imagining being around you, laughing with you, coming home to you, sharing ordinary moments with you. There's something almost bittersweet about it, because these thoughts seem to be arriving alongside the realization that they may not know where they stand with you anymore. Then I'm looking at strength. Yeah, this is where your energy feels different to them. They may see you as someone who has become quieter, more composed, maybe even harder to read. Taurus, you may have reached a place where you're simply not giving this person the same access to your emotions that you once did. Maybe you stopped explaining yourself. Maybe you stopped waiting for them to figure out what they wanted. You could still care and yet be protecting your peace at the same time. That seems to be creating uncertainty for them, because they can't tell whether your silence means you've moved on or whether there's still something underneath it. Justice comes through, and I feel like this person is reviewing their own behavior more seriously than they did before. There's a sense of looking back and realizing that maybe things weren't balanced. Maybe you were giving more emotionally. Maybe you were more available, more patient, or more willing to see where this connection could go while they stayed cautious. And Taurus, time seems important here. I keep getting this feeling of someone asking themselves, did I wait too long? They may have assumed there would always be another opportunity, another conversation, another opening. But something about your energy feels less available to them now, and that seems to be making everything they didn't do feel much louder. Okay, and here comes the Wheel of Fortune. There's something shifting inside this person. I wouldn't take that as a guarantee that they're suddenly going to appear or that everything changes overnight. It feels more internal right now. Their perspective may be changing. Something they once avoided looking at is becoming difficult to ignore. They may still feel that pull toward you. They may still wonder about you. And perhaps the hardest part for them is not knowing whether that connection still exists on your side in the same way. Because underneath all of this remembering, Taurus, I'm starting to feel something heavier than simple nostalgia. There's a difference between missing someone and realizing you may have contributed to losing the opportunity you had with them. And the cards are beginning to move toward that distinction in a very interesting way. The Five of Cups is sitting here, Taurus, and there's a heaviness around this person that feels difficult for them to admit, even to themselves. I don't necessarily feel like they're walking around openly showing regret. Actually, it may be the opposite. They could appear completely fine on the outside while privately carrying this uncomfortable awareness that they had opportunities with you and didn't really use them. There were moments when they could have stepped closer, said more, shown more, done more. And somehow they kept hesitating. the devil comes through, and, this is where the attraction feels intense. There's something about you that this person has had a difficult time getting out of their system. They may try to distract themselves. They may tell themselves they shouldn't think about you anymore. They may even attempt to emotionally detach. But I keep sensing their mind circling back to this connection, especially when they're alone. And with the Queen of Cups here, it doesn't feel like this is only physical attraction. There are emotions underneath it. Real tenderness may have existed here, even if this person wasn't particularly good at showing it. That's almost what makes their regret more complicated, because perhaps they felt more than they allowed you to see. The Two of Wands feels like somebody who kept standing at the edge of a decision. They considered moving toward you. They imagined what could happen. They thought about what they might say. But somehow, there was always another reason to wait. Maybe they wanted to feel completely certain first. Maybe they were afraid of vulnerability. Maybe circumstances in their life made them believe they needed more time. Whatever the reason, Taurus, it feels like they spent so much time considering the connection that they forgot a connection also needs movement. Okay, look at this. 7 of Pentacles. This person may have genuinely believed they had time. That feeling keeps coming through very strongly. It's almost like they assumed you would remain emotionally available while they figured themselves out. Perhaps they thought they could move slowly, communicate here and there, keep the connection alive without really defining it or taking the next meaningful step. But Taurus energy can be incredibly patient until something inside finally decides, I can't keep investing in uncertainty. And I feel like they noticed something changing in you. Maybe your messages became different. Maybe you stopped initiating. Maybe you weren't as emotionally open. Or perhaps nothing obvious happened at all. They simply felt that your attention wasn't sitting in the same place anymore. The 9 of Swords comes out. And yeah, their mind feels busy. There could be nights when they replay certain conversations, things they said, things they didn't say. Moments when you may have given them an opening and they didn't recognize how important it was until later. I keep sensing questions like, why didn't I just do something? Why did I wait? What if Taurus doesn't want this anymore? And I want to be careful here, because this doesn't mean you're responsible for easing those fears. Their hesitation was theirs to work through. Their choices belonged to them. Oh my God, and the Chariot comes out. That is such a contrast to all of this waiting. It feels like part of their regret comes from realizing that there should have been more movement, more effort. Maybe even literally making plans, traveling, showing up, seeing you, turning words into something tangible instead of allowing the connection to live mostly through conversations, thoughts, or possibilities. For some of you, distance could have played a role. For others, emotional distance was the bigger issue. Either way, they may be recognizing that wanting someone quietly isn't the same thing as choosing them openly. And that realization seems to be putting this person in a very uncomfortable place, Taurus, because regret eventually asks for a decision. You either continue living with what you didn't do, or you risk doing something differently. And I'm starting to feel that this person may be wondering whether there is still one small opening left with you, because something in these cards is beginning to look less like passive regret and more like someone considering whether they could actually ask for another chance. Judgment is coming through very strongly here, Taurus. And this feels like somebody reaching a point where they can't keep pretending the past doesn't matter. There's an inner conversation happening with this person that feels different from simple regret. It's more like they're beginning to ask themselves what they would actually do if they were given another opportunity with you. Would they still hesitate? Would they hide behind uncertainty again? Or would they finally show you something they weren't able to show before? I keep hearing this feeling of, I wish I could do that differently. And with the Page of Cups appearing, I don't feel like their first move would necessarily be dramatic. This doesn't look like someone suddenly showing up with a huge emotional confession and telling you everything they've been holding inside. Actually, It feels much smaller than that. Maybe a message. Maybe a simple, "How have you been?" Perhaps they find some innocent reason to reach out, react to something, or bring up a memory the two of you share. It feels like they would want to see how you respond before exposing too much of themselves. The moon comes through right beside this, and yeah, there's still fear here. There's still uncertainty. They don't know what they're going to find when they open that door. They may wonder if you're seeing someone else. They may wonder whether you've emotionally closed this chapter. They may even be afraid that you'll respond politely, but without the warmth they remember from you. And Taurus, I feel like that possibility scares them more than they would probably admit, because the High Priestess is sitting here, and your energy feels incredibly difficult for them to read. You may not be giving anything away anymore. Maybe once upon a time, they knew exactly how you felt, because you showed them. You were present, you were patient, you gave the connection room to become something. But perhaps you've learned that you don't always have to reveal what's happening inside your heart. There's something about your silence that leaves this person wondering, okay, the star, this feels very tender. I keep sensing that despite everything that happened, or everything that never happened, they still see something special when they think about you. Maybe they admire the way you handled yourself. Maybe distance has allowed them to appreciate qualities in you they took for granted when you were more accessible. For some of you, there's also this quiet hope that the story between you isn't completely finished. Not certainty, hope. And there's a very important difference between those two. The Three of Cups comes out, and this is where I feel that testing the water's energy becoming stronger. If communication happens, they may try to keep things light initially. They might joke with you, bring up something familiar, ask what you've been doing. There could be an attempt to recreate some of the ease that once existed between you without immediately forcing a serious conversation. Oh my God, Taurus. And underneath that, we have the Ace of Pentacles. That changes the texture of this quite a bit, because underneath what may look like a casual little gesture, there could be a much bigger question in this person's mind. Could we actually build something differently this time? I'm not saying they necessarily know how to do that yet, and I certainly wouldn't say one message automatically means someone has changed. But I feel like they may be considering whether there's a way to approach you more genuinely, more intentionally, and perhaps more grounded than before. The interesting thing is that you may hold more power in this situation than you realize. They're the one wondering, they're the one trying to read the silence, they're the one asking themselves whether the door is still open. And Taurus, if that little knock on the door does come, the cards are bringing up a deeper question for you as well. Because wanting another chance is one thing, but showing that you're capable of handling that chance differently is something else entirely. The Ace of Cups is sitting here, Taurus, and what I love about this energy is that it brings the focus back to your heart. Not just what this person feels, not just what they regret, not even what they might want to do about it. There's a quieter question underneath all of this. What would actually feel good and emotionally safe for you if this connection opened again? Because yeah, you may still have feelings. You may still remember the good moments. There could even be a part of you that wonders what might happen if the two of you had another opportunity. But I don't feel like you're in the same emotional place you were before. Something has matured inside you. Temperance comes through, and I keep sensing that you're much less interested in extremes now. You don't want someone rushing toward you today and disappearing emotionally tomorrow. You don't want beautiful words followed by another stretch of confusion. For many of you, what feels attractive now is balance. Consistency. Someone whose presence doesn't make you constantly wonder where you stand. And I think that matters, because the Four of Swords shows me this person may have needed a lot of time to process themselves. Maybe they became overwhelmed by their own emotions. Perhaps there were responsibilities or personal circumstances they never fully explained. Maybe they simply didn't know how to handle the depth of what they were feeling, so they pulled back instead. You can understand why someone behaved a certain way without deciding that the behavior works for you. That feels important, Taurus. The Page of Cups appears again. And there's that small gesture we were feeling earlier. If they do reach toward you, it may be gentle, almost cautious. They could be watching your response very carefully because they don't necessarily know what kind of access they have to you anymore. And, you don't have to decide everything from one interaction. You don't have to immediately know whether this person deserves another chance. You can simply observe. What happens after the message? What happens after the apology? What happens after they tell you they missed you? Because the Ace of Pentacles is here, and this feels much more connected to what can actually be built than what can simply be felt. If somebody wants to create something different with you, perhaps they need to show that through consistency over time. Words matter, but Taurus, you tend to notice patterns. Does this person make plans and follow through? Do they communicate when things become uncomfortable? Are they willing to meet you halfway instead of leaving you to carry the emotional weight? The Six of Swords feels almost peaceful here. I don't see this as you needing to force the past back into existence. It feels more like moving away from the version of this connection that created uncertainty. Maybe the two of you move forward together in a healthier way. Maybe you realize that your peace matters more. Either possibility can still represent growth. And the Two of Cups. There is tenderness here. There may still be genuine emotional compatibility between you and this person. I feel like there's something that could make both of you recognize each other again emotionally if communication opens. But this card doesn't make me want to tell you, yes, Taurus, take them back. It makes me want to ask whether what comes toward you feels mutual, because that seems to be the heart of your reading. Not chasing, not waiting indefinitely, not trying to convince someone to recognize your value. Mutual effort, mutual respect. Two people choosing to participate instead of one person carrying the possibility for both. So, if someone from your past does knock gently on that door, you can listen without immediately opening it all the way. Let their actions tell the story they weren't able to tell before. And if you still care, that doesn't make you weak. If you've moved beyond this, that doesn't erase what the connection once meant either. Perhaps the real do-over isn't about recreating the past at all. Maybe it's simply an opportunity to respond differently, with clearer boundaries, a calmer heart, and a deeper understanding of what you deserve from anyone who wants a place in your life. Whatever resonates with you here, Taurus, give yourself permission to move at your own pace. You don't need to know the ending today. Sometimes the most meaningful answer comes quietly, when someone's actions finally show you whether their words have somewhere real to go.